Hey Metalheads, welcome to another Metal Academics band review. Who are we reviewing?
Dark Moor from Spain.
Dark Moor from Spain. Sounds very exotic and intriguing, especially for me as I have not heard of them before. Who are they?
Yeah, so they're a band formed in 1993 from Madrid.
Okay.
One of my favorite cities. Love the jamón, the ham. And I started listening to them sort of in the late 90s, early 2000s. But I mean, I think they're still active today. So they've been playing for, 30 years almost.
My goodness. And I have not heard of them.
So I was doing a little research into the band, and the name, Dark Moor, actually comes from the Hound of Baskervilles, which is a...
Yeah, I know. Arthur Conan Doyle, Sherlock Holmes. Yeah, I want to remember that I've read something about it, but I don't know exactly. Is it the Moor as the place or the Moor as the character?
The Moor is, again, according to the internet, so it's an uncultivated piece of land, right? Apparently that has some symbolic relevance in the book where the Moor, like the hound in this book, symbolizes the untamed emotional side of human nature.
Wow, that is deep.
Says the internet. But I always thought that the name had to do something with the Moors, right? Iberian Peninsula.
Exactly. This was like, is it a person, like the invaders? Sometimes they would be called the Moors, but it's actually the place.
Yeah, so the band does a lot of, they're like a symphonic metal band, and they do a lot of work sort of based on plays and the arts, so it's a very kind of artsy band. But the first song I'm going to play is not that. One of my favorites of all metal songs is called In the Heart of Stone. It comes off their 2002 album, The Gates of Oblivion. And this album is just excellent, the entire thing. But this is the lead song off that album, and some hero out there filmed a live performance from the band that I was able to put the studio track on top because they've changed singers. So this is like vintage footage. So we'll have that to enjoy.
2000s.
So, apparently, yeah. So let's hear In the Heart of Stone. I think this is like perfect late 90s, early 2000s metal sound. I love it.
Curious. Playing on home territory.
How good is that song?
Yeah, my God, I loved it. I loved it. It made me think of another one that you said you really enjoyed, like from Majestica. Isn't it a little bit?
It's definitely power metal.
Yeah.
That full power
Yeah,
metal.
exactly.
Yeah.
I remember when we were talking about Majestica and you were saying also like this is the essence of power metal. So that kind of has references to some
There's
extent.
so much going on. You're led this way, then that way,
Yeah.
and it comes back. And
good drums too.
Yeah, really good drums. So what do you
Very
think
nice.
of the singer? He's pretty good, right?
Yeah, I think it was very nice.
It's not a he. It's a she.
Oh my goodness.
Elisa C. Martin. I didn't know that until I actually saw the footage. And
Again, I know nothing of the band. I could not associate the sound with anyone.
so it's a female lead singer up until 2003.
Okay.
And Elisa,
Even in the concert.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And you can't tell because the hair kind of looks
Yeah.
like Fabio.
I love the big hair.
Yeah, so I always, listening to the band, I thought it was a male vocals.
A tenor, yeah.
But, and she's got some really cool YouTube videos where she does a lot of like vocalist stuff that I got sucked into, even though I don't speak Spanish. I was just watching them.
This is the beauty of YouTube. Down that rabbit hole.
There's,
Cool.
You want to keep talking about the song?
I know. I wanted to just say that I liked the because you said Fabio, and it just made me also think of Rhapsody, which were the two. Like I was thinking, where did I hear this before? And definitely Majestica, obviously much later than this song, but also Rhapsody. So I don't know if they were like contemporaries, like borrowing from each other, but it seems that kind of epicness derives from there. That's all I wanted to say. When you said Fabio, it just like activated the Rhapsody reference.
We're going to keep going down the epic route. But yeah, so their first 3 albums with Elisa are awesome. Highly recommend all of them. And then I think there's a big split in the band where they brought in a new singer, male vocals, Alfred Romero.
Okay.
Who's been with the band since 2003.
That's usually a radical change when you replace like genders because it's a different sound.
I think most people left. There's only 2 that stayed and they reformed the band.
Okay.
So most people who are probably search for this video are familiar with the newer stuff. But even still, I'm going to stick with another awesome album, I think, is a self-titled album, Dark Moor, in 2003. And one of the things they do a lot of, as I mentioned, is they play a lot of these artistic songs. So the second song I've chosen is called Cyrano de Bergerac.
Oh my God! After the
play.
poem,
and I'll do a quick overview of the play, which is actually a really interesting story. Because we'll see some footage from different documentaries, blocked in France and Belgium. Boo! But I wanted to keep it anyways because it's cool. So Cyrano de Bergerac, he is a French nobleman with a very large nose.
Exactly.
And so let me see if I can not mess this up. So he's in love with his cousin, Roxanne. Do you know the story?
I have seen the film. Now, as you are speaking, I'm trying to remember the name of this extremely famous French actor that does have naturally a very large nose.
Maybe we'll see him.
It's almost impossible not to reference. But go ahead, and I will try to.
So he's in love with his cousin Roxanne. Roxanne's in love with a guy named Christian, who's good looking. But Cyrano, he's like a master on the battlefield, but he's also very sharp and witty.
A poet.
He's a poet. And actually, that play is responsible for the word panache being put into English, which is like flair.
Yeah.
So he always had this cap with a feather, and he was a dueling swordsman, but also with the pen. So he was a master of the sword and the pen.
This is like the logo of Lund University. Truly, it is.
So
both with the sword and
the lion with the. We can put the logo up there. Make our university
a little bit geeky.
sponsors happy.
Sorry.
So he's in love with his cousin, but he's very self-conscious about his nose. Then he writes this beautiful letter to his cousin, Roxanne, and he's going to give it to her. And when he's going to give it to her, she says, "I love Christian." So in his undying love for his cousin, he gives the letter to Christian and says, "Hey."
Who Christian was probably not as...
He was a dimwit.
Yeah.
And
I did not want to go
but he was
far.
But he was better looking and he had a normal nose. So he gives the letter to Christian and he says, "Give this to Roxanne and just say you wrote it." And this begins a long deception where he keeps writing these letters.
Cyrano is the ghost writer of Christian's letters.
Yeah, and at some point Christian says, I gotta stop this. I wanna say something to Roxanne. And he goes and he like chickens out, and Cyrano is basically in the shadows whispering what for Christian to say. Because
it's such a perfect theater scene, right?
because Roxanne falls in love with Christian first for his looks, but then for his poetry.
As it were.
As it were. And so the interesting part is eventually Christian dies in a battle, the Siege of Arras in the Franco-Spanish War. And Roxanne is devastated. And she keeps the last letter that Christian ever wrote to her heart. And Cyrano goes to visit Roxanne every week to keep her up with the gossip. And one day, Cyrano has a lot of enemies in his town, and someone dropped a brick on his head and split it open.
Oh.
So he puts his hat on and he goes to see Roxanne one last time. And I think he asked her to read the letter or something, but it's too dark. So he starts reading the letter, but it's at nighttime, and she realizes, wait, how can you see the words? But he wrote it. He's memorized it. So she finds out finally that Cyrano's been writing letters the whole time, and when she basically professes her love for him, he takes off his hat and he's bleeding and he's dying. But in his last
tragic story.
In his last final moments, he draws his sword. He's delusional and he fights to the death with these invisible people coming together.
A hero.
Very interesting story. I hope I communicated it okay. But this is a song about Cyrano of Bergerac.
That's very, very interesting.
And so we'll watch some footage from various renditions of that.
Definitely drama.
Yes. It's not one of their better known songs, but one that I like. It's a bit longer.
Good story.
Yeah. So let's hear it.
I still don't remember the name of the French actor. By golly, I shall Google it until we find out.
Maybe you'll see him.
Maybe I'll see his face and promptly remember it.
So you have some idea of the story as it goes along.
Yes.
This is the story of Moor and a man and the tower of
Yeah. It is the same film that I know. good-looking guy, right?
Just
I loved it. And I didn't remember the name of the guy. It's Gérard Depardieu.
There you go. Panache. I think, I thought originally that Elisa is on this album. I'm pretty sure that was her, not a guy.
It seemed to me there is a lady's
I
voice,
think so.
but again,
So I probably
was
had that
fooled
wrong.
once.
This must have been released before they switched the band. But what do you think?
I loved it. It's very epic, and again, it helped me with a story that you prefaced and the story that was told in the fan video. So altogether, I thought it was perfect. But I love this kind of epic stuff.
Yeah, it's a bit slow. There's like a good minute and a half of kind of slowness that I could
It's
do
a
without.
narrative,
But
right?
but it picks up again in the end, which I like. Kind of brings it full circle.
You understand what they say, apropos, the role of lyrics. Many
No,
times
she chose.
I think in this case, I actually do understand what they say, and it helps me get on with the story, like stick with the story, even if there's some lower passages, because I get the narrative, what it is, and I'm waiting for the next step. I thought it was very nice balance between slow and fast, and I like the guitars very much.
Yeah.
I thought it was very, very nice, and the switch in rhythm. That's the beauty of this kind of metal, the more symphonic, the more progressive metal, that you don't stick with one rhythm, but it changes. The song is long, but you can break it down in various waves, right? So I really enjoy that very much.
Exactly.
Definitely, I like it very much.
And they have so many good songs on this album, Dark Moor. From Hell, they have Eternity, the Bane of Tercinski.
Another historical...
Yeah. So now, at least I know we're moving into Alfred Romero territory. And the last song I'm going to pick is Swan Lake.
Swan Lake, oh my God,
Tchaikovsky.
it's truly packed
Sticking
with
with a little
references.
With an artsy theme. They do an awesome cover of Vivaldi's Winter. I think that's their most listened to song on Spotify.
A rock version of a...
Yeah, it's instrumental. It's incredible. I was going to choose that, but I thought I want to highlight something with Alfred's voice.
Yeah, exactly.
They have some other good songs. I think it's called, what is it? Fire Lances of Spain or something. He's also a popular one. First Lance of Spain. There's Canción del Pirata, which is in Espanol. But I'm going to stick with Swan Lake, keeping with the artsy theme. Again, a little bit long, about 8 minutes, but it's a good song.
Is it connected to the Tchaikovsky?
Oh yes, it uses the same.
So it's a reinterpretation of the motifs from the classical.
I mean, you'll
music.
hear it right off the bat. And so again, a fan video of Swan Lake ballet footage, which actually is kind of funny to watch. Reminds me of the video you did with Iced Earth.
Yeah.
Iced Earth. So we're gonna watch that. We'll watch some ballet, and we will listen to Dark Moor's interpretation of Swan Lake.
Sounds very good.
And you'll hear, even if you don't know Tchaikovsky, you'll recognize some of the sound.
Until
God.
You listen to that song, you feel like you were at
A big performance.
starts with the overture and it ends with the,
Grand
crescendo.
finale.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So we talk about classical influences in music.
This is not a classic influence. This
How
is
about take the classical music and do something with it?
Wow. Yeah, I have to digest this. It takes a moment,
It's
right?
not for everybody, that's for sure. But it's interesting, I think.
8 minutes, you said? It didn't feel that long, I must say, from the beginning. But I'm familiar with original, the Tchaikovsky, so maybe I just...
Probably much longer. Just get the short version.
Yes, it was interesting. I have lots of short, unfinished thoughts, but I liked the instrumentals, definitely. I thought it was a very interesting challenge, right? To embrace the melody of the Tchaikovsky original, but then to transpose it in a new arrangement and then compose new music that fits with the old piece, right? So it's like a double challenge to transcribe the classical music to rock instruments and then to come up with new instrumental pieces. And then, of course, you need a voice. Mm-hmm. This is where I kind of was maybe given second thoughts. Mm-hmm. It was, to my taste, maybe a little bit too operatic. Also, there was a duet, right? So there was a guy and a girl. So it seemed that this was almost classical music just with a rock background.
Yeah, and this is not a song that is hidden back in an album. They open their concerts with this.
Yeah, I think there's no real criticism. It's just it took me a little bit of a second to get into that operatic singing that was proper operatic singing, not rock singing, right? Mm-hmm. So it was a bit this is how they decided to go for it. In specific passages, I think in the last third of the song, it felt more acutely.
Act 3.
Act 3, yeah, they compressed the story. But yeah, I liked it, obviously. This is very nice, very daring to take on Tchaikovsky, basically, in very successful ways, definitely. I enjoy it. I wonder where would I listen to this, because it feels like, doing the everyday chores and listening to this doesn't suit it.
Yeah, Swan Lake isn't on my workout iPod, but In the Heart of Stone definitely has been a staple for a long time. So they have range. They have a lot of stuff.
I was just going to say.
I have their Vivaldi's Winter on my workout. You can do that. So I think they're interesting. I personally like their stuff with Elisa, the first singer, and particularly, Gates of Oblivion and Dark Moor, I think, are the best albums from the band. But you got to give them props for experimenting.
Oh my goodness, I think it's fantastic. I think it really takes a lot of musical knowledge to be able to take on, as I said, the Tchaikovsky and Vivaldi. And again, who knows who else is in their repertoire.
And as far, not so many Spanish metal bands. So if you guys know some, let us know.
Yeah, I didn't know of these guys. Maybe now that you mentioned that somebody, maybe our friend Fred Palas mentioned that in some context. But I would not place them in any cultural way. Just very nicely. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for showcasing a new band.
Yeah.
I hope you guys also enjoy discovering some pearls that
let us know
maybe
what you thought.
And if you have any suggestions that feel in the same spirit, if you know of any band that also took the classical music in this new metal symphonic direction, it'll be fun to give it another listen as well. But yes, in the meantime,
may your swords stay sharp.
And your quest end in glory.